Okay, great. So let's get started with our salute. There you go. Very good. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to just review a little bit of what we did last time. So we started off with our basic snap kick like so. So let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and snap kick forward. Good, excellent. So did you practice that, right? Excellent. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do that from a fighting stance. So I want you to take your right foot and step straight back with your right foot. Good. Now pivoting on the balls of your feet. Go ahead and pivot on the balls of the feet, and that should put you in the heel-toe stance that we learned last time, right? Okay, so let's do that again. Ready? Step straight back, pivot on the balls of the feet. Now we're heel-toe. Good, okay? So now from here, the left hand's gonna be in front, the right hand is pointing up here. So again, the left hand is here, that's to block your face, right? This is here, pointing at your opponent's nose. So that's a both aim. This could block your groin also, okay? So it's the same, this is the same heel toe stance that we did last time when we did our chop. Remember when we did the chop, we did the heel toe? And now we're doing our heel toe here, right? Okay, so from this stance, this is our basic fighting stance. This is a very easy to defend from stance. So, you know, in that position, trying to kick you in here, you're pretty well blocked. If I come in here, you can block easily up here. You can block your ribs with just a little drop of the elbow, okay? Very little motion, right? You can block your groin with very little motion. So you're a very defensible stance. And this is what we're gonna do our snap kick from to start with. So from this stance, we're gonna go ahead and push off the ground, just like before, okay? Good. Now you wanna get that knee as far forward as possible before transferring forward, and then snap and back to your fighting stance, okay? We could also break that down. Let's go ahead and break that down. So we're gonna go 1, good, 2, kick, 3, and back. So you could do it that way broken down and kind of practice your balance. Or we can just go ahead and go kick and right back to this fighting stance, okay? So that's one way of practicing it. In most of a fight situation, you're probably never going to go back unless you were coming back to get somebody else. You would go kick and move in or something like that. But we'll go ahead and practice this kick and back for now and then change it up a little bit later. So let's go ahead and do that. So again, ready to kick, good, and again, ready to kick, good. Now notice when we do this, try not to turn that front foot right away. Get the kick going first. So this is coming across, it's kind of hiding the groin area. See, if I turn this first, that's a telegraph, right? They see that coming, okay? But if I can push this off without any motion going on up here, then you can get your kick most of the way there before they see it, okay? So again, it's about efficiency of motion. It's about not telegraphing so they don't see it, okay? So go ahead and do that. Let's try that a few times. Ready, kick. There you go, good. Watch the head level as you do this too. You don't want your head going up and down. That's kind of a telegraph also. So to not let your head go up and down, you want to bend that supporting leg a little bit as you transfer onto it, and that's going to keep your head level right at the same level the whole time. Does that make sense? So those are things to work on in that snap kick. So let's do that again. Ready? Kick. There you go. Good. Good. So work on pushing off the ground, not letting the front foot pivot right away. It's going to pivot as when your right knee gets to about here, then you can let that pivot, okay? So the pivot happens more at the end. Remember last time we worked on rocking the hips in, still going to be here, a little rock of the hips for power, all those things, okay? So things to work on there, okay? Good? All right, let's move on to our chop. So we did a chop to the right, remember that? Let's go ahead and practice that. So I bring it up, start it out, and chop. Good. Remember not to tense your shoulders when you do it. Keep them nice and relaxed. Bring it up and chop. There you go. Good. And the cover hand is out there. We have our heel toe stance, right? So you remember all that? Very good. So we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it behind us. Now we don't know what's behind us, so we can't turn around and look because we might get clocked, right? So what you want to do is you want to bring this up and bring your elbow over your shoulder. So notice as we do this, the elbow starts to block my face. If there was a punch coming at me back here, that elbow is covering my face, and now the chop is covering my face as I turn around. So essentially what we do is we fire this and then look afterwards. Okay, this is a principle. What you're going to do is your face always follows your cover hand, right? So notice when we did our first chop that we turn as the cover hand passes out here, right? We don't turn first and then cover hand. The hands go first and then we turn. Same thing behind us. The hands go first and then my head follows what the cover hand does, okay? That keeps us from getting, make sure we're covered before we run into a punch, right? So let's do that. So we're gonna bring it up, but like before, bring the elbow up high, cover your face with the elbow, and now we're gonna step to our heel-toe stance. So here's the same stance that we learned before, right? Heel-toe to the opponent, right? We just have to step around a little bit more to get that lined up with our opponent. So wherever your opponent is, you're always gonna line yourself up heel-toe with that, okay? Make sense? All right, so again, bring it up and chop. There you go, good. And again. Now as you do that, as you come around, make sure to push those heels out there. Okay? So you get really strong. So again, bring it up and chop. Good, good. Okay, yeah, push those out and get that strong stance. Got it? Excellent. So now the same thing going forward is much easier going forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to start bringing it up, start it forward, and then drive to our stance here. So again, we're heel-toe, alignment to our opponent. So we're just practicing getting lined up to our opponent so we're heel-toe to their center, okay? All right, so again, bring it up and chop. Good. And again, bring it up and chop. There you go, not bad. And again, ready? Bring it up, chop. Good. So forward is a lot easier because you don't have to cover your face before looking, you know what's there, right? All right, now, so from here, we did our block, right? Remember we bring the block up and across, yeah? So let's go ahead and review that. Go ahead and face me. So you bring the block up and across, good. Keeping your eyes here in the center, right? So if I bring this back, 1, 2, excellent. Okay, again, 1, 2, excellent, good. So it's coming up from your legs and you have strength in that, right? Remembering to look in the center, remembering to cover the picture frame, remembering wrist at eye level, and 3/4 extension, right? So let's go over that again. So just the three major things to remember is 1, wrist at eye level, 2, 3/4 extension, right? 3/4 extension, and 3, this picture frame area. And I guess we'll go 4, bonus is weapon before body, but weapon before body always applies, right? So we could do this with a hard block here, okay, or a chop block with the open hand. They're both valid, okay? All right, so now I think we were working the chop block before, so we'll stick with that, right? So, to explain the difference, a hard block, a little bit easier. There's no chance of really hurting your hand there because it's really easy to form that weapon. So sometimes at a beginner level, this is a better one. This one penetrates more. It actually causes more damage, but if you're not used to it, you haven't developed the positioning of the fingers and all that stuff. So at beginner level, sometimes we'll do this, although we'll right away start working on that too, okay? There are times when you will use a hard block, such as if you're hitting a bony area, but most of the time we would prefer the chop block here, okay? But there's times for both, and they are kind of interchangeable, all right? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same block stepping in, okay? So we're gonna start by bringing our hand up at 3/4 extension, wrist at eye level, to the side of our picture frame. We're going to start it across our face, and then we're going to step in to our heel-toe position, okay? There, yeah, so make sure you don't overstep because now your back is to your opponent, right? Your opponent's right here in the center, right here. You step in, your feet are aligned heel-toe to your opponent. That's very important, okay? All right, so again, ready? Bring it up, 1 and 2. Good, and again, ready? 1 and 2. And again, hey Shou. That's fine, yeah. 1 and 2, good. Okay, so I'm gonna throw the punch, go ahead and face me. Ready, bring it up, 1 and 2. Excellent, good, and good. I see that cover hands out there, 3/4 we're supposed to be, very good. 1 and 2, excellent, good. One more time, ready? 1 and 2, very good. Okay, so now let's just add to that our chop that we've already learned, right? So we've learned the block, we've learned a chop, we're just gonna put them together. So what we do is we do 1, 2. Now from here, we're just gonna turn this over, and 3. Good. Now notice I took a little step on 3, okay? That's actually kind of a training device. What's really gonna happen, remember we talked about the floating foot a little bit? A floating foot is what we're gonna do between weapons. So notice my foot passes from a little horse to a bigger horse without ever actually touching the ground, right? But that's a little bit difficult to learn at first. So what we do to kind of simulate it is step, and then step again, and then eventually those little steps, we'll just take those away and it'll just float, okay? But to get it right, it's better to train step, step right now until you get comfortable with the stances, okay? So again, 1, 2, 3. There you go, good. And again, 1, 2, 3. There you go, good. One more time, ready? 1, 2, 3. Good, so you're taking that little bone there and you're driving it into the motor nerve. You know where the motor nerve is? Right in front of it. So if you take this little mastoid muscle here and you go right in front of it and poke in right there, yeah, there's a nerve right there. Okay, you feel it? Yeah. Okay, so you're gonna take that little bone and drive that sucker into that nerve, okay? Yeah. Most people are just gonna go out cold when they get hit like that, okay? All right, so again, ready? 1, 2, 3. Good, now when we do this block to the chop, again, we're breaking it down for now, but realize that what's gonna happen is that's gonna bounce, like taking a divot out of the arm, and you kind of steal their energy and put it into that chop also, okay? Does that make sense? We're stealing the energy. So that, let me explain that anyway. So if you're doing the punch, okay, and if you're pushing hard against that, that's kind of, and I come off of that, push hard against it, then it kind of pushes me in. Make sense? So if I did that block, go ahead and throw the punch, and I just bounced it, then it kind of takes some of the energy off of your arm also, and it bounces it into you. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's what I mean by stealing the energy, okay? We got our own energy, we take some of theirs, it's all good, right? All right, so again, 1, 2, 3. Excellent, good. One more time, ready? 1, 2, 3. Good, now this hand has been hanging out here very patiently, waiting its turn. Not back here by its face, because now it'll collapse, it's out here, right? So what we're gonna do is a heel palm. We're gonna turn, and we're gonna fire that into their face, and we're gonna use this part of the hand here, the heel of the hand, and drive it in. Again, fingers are a little bit bent there, and what we're doing here is called a hard bow. So we lock the back leg out, we bend the front knee, there you go, and this is gonna be up. So now this will be straight in line with that leg, and that gives us bone alignment. Just like when we did the chop, it's bone alignment, okay? Now the other hand comes back here, and it's gonna be pointed at the solar plexus. You could be here, you could have open hand, whatever. The reason it's there is because when you hit somebody in the face, their head goes back, things down here get exposed. So in this case, the solar plexus would be exposed, right? So a possible follow-up weapon we could do is a sword hand, okay? So driving, you know, the solar plexus here is a little weak area, and that sword hand will fit into there. So if you've learned a sword hand, you can drive that pretty hard into things. If you haven't, a punch would do just fine, right? Sword hand is good because it's smaller, more penetrating, but like I said, a punch is fine too, okay? But we're not gonna actually do that. But since we train our hands to have a concept we call magic hands. Magic hands means our hands predict where the next target is gonna be. Now that's not really, in principle, very hard, is it? We know that if we hit somebody in the face, they go back and there's a target open here. We also know that this groin is open, right? We know if we kick somebody in the groin, that the head goes forward, right? So that would be a target. So if our hands predict, so like when we kicked, we brought our hand back here so it's pointing at the face, right? Because it knew that face was coming, it predicted it, right? When we hit him in the face, it predicted the next shot here, okay? Logically, it's not very hard to do, right? In practice, it's a little harder. We got to train our hands to do that. But that's why this is coming back here. It's getting ready for that next shot. Make sense? Okay? In this case, we're not going to take that shot. We're going to do, because we have other options which we're going to do. But we could, right? All right, so again, bring it up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. So the option we're going to take, since we've already learned it, is our snap kick. Okay? So we go ahead and kick, come back to neutral, and we'll go ahead and do a cover back. We haven't learned a cover back yet, so we won't worry about it too much. But the important thing, we'll teach you a cover back in one of these next upcoming lessons. The important thing to remember is that you keep your hands up while you're backing out, right? You don't want to do this and then drop your hands and look around, because you could get sucker punched, right? Right. You do your technique, and you make sure that you are clearly safe before you drop these hands. You don't want to get into practice of not doing that, okay? All right, so let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. One thing I want to point out on 4 here is your heel. You don't want your heels to spin out, because then you're like losing the magic out of them, right? You're losing the drive. Your heel drives into the ground, and that pushes you forward. So you have here not only turn of the hips. If your heels spun out, you would have turn of the hips, but you wouldn't have a lot of power. What you want to do is your heel drives into the ground, and it pushes you forward. So we have shift of centerline, okay? Shift of centerline simply means our centerline, remember our centerline, the imaginary pole through our body, it just moves. Okay, that's called shift of centerline, okay? So shift of centerline is our mass of our body moving, and that creates power, applies it to the weapon. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, so let's do that again. Ready? Bring it up. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go, good. Nice shift of centerline, and as well as the turn, the two of those combined creates a lot of power for that heel pump. Make sense? Very good. So again, ready? Bring it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll just back up for right now. Don't worry how to do that. Just keep your hands up. Good. So I get to throw the punch. Okay, so bring it up. 1, 2, 3. Good. Remember, this is going to be out here just in case it came back in somehow. Good. 4. Guys going back, and that would go right here to the chin, right? Okay. And then you kick him in the groin from there. Go ahead and kick, and then go ahead and back out from there. Okay? All right, got it? Yep. Very good. All right, let's go ahead and close it up. Excellent.